Okay, I did it. I pushed record. If not me, then who? All right, so I want to start by first giving gratitude and thanks. I am just overwhelmed by the amount of support that I've gotten from all types of stakeholders within the Alliance network. And so this message is designed specifically for stakeholders of Alliance. I announced on the 25th of August that my school is closing because the board up there decided to stop investing in the students and the teachers in the community of San Pedro, and Middle School 5, by the way. And when that was announced, I was very much in my feelings. And now that the dust has settled, it's time to talk about who's really accountable. These are some of the questions that I asked, and I called out a bunch of top executives within the network, including Dan, the CEO himself, and Mr. Pablo, the chief operating officer, who's sort of taken the lead on our closure. And here's the good news. Young Pablo reached out to me. He reached out to me and we had a one-on-one conversation. So shout out to Pablo, because honestly, such a high level executive in such a prestigious charter institution really has no incentive to come down and talk to this angry black man who just went off on him on YouTube. But we had a constructive conversation, and in the end, we actually laid some groundwork for a future conversation that we both agreed we will publish for the broader community. And so we have set some intentions, laid some groundwork, and it looks like on November 13th, he and I are going to have a aggressive conversation about some of the problems that I have observed and experienced. So here's what I need. What I need is your support. I need students, teachers, parents, administrators, people in home office to get behind me, because I am new to the charter system in general. I've spent 20 years of my career mostly in public schools. I am new to Alliance as a charter network in particular, and the only school that I've taught at is Baxter High School. So there's a lot that I want to bring to the conversation, but I also acknowledge that I'm limited by my own perspective. And so this is more of a call to action. All of those who have provided me with amazing levels of support, warning about the army of lawyers that they have, and all of that has been positive and reinforcing. But my biggest why for continuing this conversation is my students. My students have put my feet to the fire, asking, what's up with Pablo? What happened with HO? Mr. Thompson, asking me, challenging me to model the type of behavior, the type of courage, the type of resolve that I expect of them pushing through my coursework. And so I'm here to ask those of you who are my allies and supporters, those of you who feel that you have been silenced, those of you who have observed things that cause you to question, if you've got stories to tell, I want to hear it. I know this is not going to be easy. I mean, the truth is, I am just a guy who cares. And I know that Mr. Pablo is a savvy, high-ranking executive, and he didn't get there by accident. And so when I come, I want to come prepared. When I come, I want to be able to put his feet to the fire and really challenge the institution. And so while he does have some things I may learn from in terms of the 30,000 foot view, I know for a fact that there are some things that he's missing in terms of the perspective. I also acknowledge that there may not be a lot of you who are comfortable putting yourself at risk like I am. I know that you have families to feed, you have a job to maintain, you have obligations. And what I know is that I'm in a position, because my school is winding up and I seriously have no intention of coming back to the Alliance Network next school year. So I feel during this time that it's appropriate for me to fully exercise my First Amendment rights, to call out foul when I see it. And I hope that you all can support me. So we have agreed to meet. It's going to be on November 13th. I'm not exactly sure if it's going to be live or pre-recorded. Because we've blocked a 2-hour conversation, it might be wiser for us to narrow that down to maybe a half hour of highlights. So at this point, I'm calling you to action. I need to know, what do you guys think about that idea? I really don't know if we should go live and just let it be what it be, or if it would be smarter and wiser for the long term to produce this thing into something of high value that folks can really learn from. In terms of what I want to talk about for the agenda, I have a few things in mind, and I'm hoping that you all can help me fill in the gaps. One, issues of diversity. Diversity within the school building. Is it reflective of the local community? Diversity of the faculty. Is it reflective of the school? Diversity in home office. Is that reflective, or is that something that we should even be intentional about? The second issue is the issue of finance. I've heard it time and time again that my school, Baxter, took a loan in order to float itself over the last couple of years. And so I got some questions about that. I mean, what are the terms of the loan, and what happens now that the school is closing? Does that loan get written off on somebody's taxes? Or is there some greater liability that we need to be concerned about? What's going to happen to the school building and the physical plant? I mean, there's so many questions about finance that are left unanswered. The third issue I think really is the most important for me personally, which is, was our closing a one-off? Was there something special about Baxter, something special about the San Pedro area that made the magic of the Alliance mission fail? Or is there a systemic issue? Do schools like Tenenbaum and ESAT have something to worry about? Do the high-performing schools, are they concerned at all? I mean, are they super comfortable? Like, hey, that's your problem and it's not our problem? Or is there something bigger going on that maybe we're not fully aware of? And so I really want to look at that issue. What happened within our building or within the system that caused the school to close, and what kinds of lessons can we learn? In terms of advocating for my students, what is the proper way to close a charter school? What is the right way to unwind this school year? Is it the best thing for us to let these kids float to the end of the year, or should we be aggressively trying to help them transfer to a new, more stable learning environment? And what about the faculty and staff? I mean, are they under some obligation to stay to the end of the school year? Or if they find another position, is it appropriate for them to leave just to ensure that they have a long and stable situation? These are not easy questions. And my last real issue really is probably the hardest one to answer. Is losing the charter the only option? In this time where we have moratoriums on charters opening, at the time when we needed a middle school and a middle school up the way is closing, were there any other creative options that we could have come up with had this conversation been broader, had we brought the diversity of ideas to the table instead of us getting an announcement that the party's over? And then obviously I want to go into home office. I want to find out what kind of sacrifices they're making. I want to find out what kind of moves are happening in home office in a broader sense in order to support us and our students. So this is a serious issue for me. It's something I care about deeply, the safety and future of my scholars. I am in a position to make myself vulnerable. I've done it once already, and now I am ready to see this thing through. So I'm hoping that you all will share this. Stakeholders of the Alliance Network, it's time that we start breaking the culture of silence and start having critical conversations. I need your help. So please share this throughout the network. Everybody needs to see this, because this is going to be a battle royale of ideas, and I am ready. I got my pen. I'm going to start pumping iron. No, seriously. There's some bigger things on the line, and we have to take this seriously, and we have to take this courageously and proactively. Otherwise, as I have predicted, in my view, this is a systemic problem, And if we don't handle this as a systemic problem rooted in white supremacy, no doubt, it will creep in. And what I also recognize is that this is an opportunity. The whole landscape of education is changing, and the future of education will look nothing like the past. We're moving away from the industrial mode and into something new. What does that look like? And while we are in the transition, we see that old ways are closing and new ways have to start opening up. What are those new ways? And what are some ways that we can engage in effective conversation to push forward to make sure that we in the Alliance Network, but really all of us as educators, are moving in the right direction to ensure that the cornerstone of society, education itself, is in a good position to take us to the society of the future. All right, guys, listen, hit me in the DM, like, follow, subscribe, share, so that I can let everybody know that Mr. Thompson is taking Mr. Pablo down on November 13th. And in order for me to be effective at doing that, I'm going to need your help. So please hit me in the DM. Find me. I'm at all the social media at Hassan Thompson. Let's have a conversation so that I can be empowered to put Pablo and all of those home office executives' feet to the flames so that we can start burning out some real truth. Okay, fam, I look forward to hearing from you, and I hope that all is well. Stay safe, and let's get our scholars to the next higher level. Peace.